Hello, and this is my review of the new Renault 5. So we first saw the concept of the Renault 5 way back in 2021 at the Geneva Motor Show. The production version was then announced a few years later, and production started in northern France in 2024. Despite looking like it might be a bit larger than life, it's not very big at all. The closest thing in terms of size might be the Suzuki Swift, and it's not much bigger than the existing Renault Clio and the Honda E. In terms of those dimensions, it's just under 4 meters long, just under 1.5 meters tall, and just under 1.8 meters wide. And out of all the three siblings that use the same EV architecture, the Nissan Micra, the Alpine A290, and the Renault 5, the Renault 5 is the smallest out of the three. The design of this car is what's making so many people so excited about the Renault 5, especially in this pop green colour. It really does have a sort of a joyful look to it, and it's nice to see some more bright colours on the roads again. You can get it in pop green, pop yellow, and there's some other white and black options as well. The front end here is very clean, so it's very smooth in terms of its design, and that's probably what makes the car so efficient. So it's so smooth down here, there's not many grills or holes or fake vents and things. It just is quite a simple design. Got the Renault badge front and centre here, got a black plastic strip which meets up with the headlights. These headlights are fully LED with adaptive high beam support, pretty good down there. We've got these very unique daytime running lights with this square effect, which you'll see a bit more in the interior. These are actually your indicators, which is quite a nice look to it. Got a small bit of ventilation around the front and in the bottom, and that's about it. Now you'll also notice there's a few hidden roosters around the whole car. There's one in each headlight here, and there's one in the windscreen. There's also two more around inside the boot. Now the rooster is actually the national symbol of France, so Renault's obviously added some more sort of patriotism to their car. Also on this Techno trim, we do get the French logo in the headlight here, and more squares in the headlights there. If you go for the base spec trim, you do lose those items. Now this black section on the bonnet might look a little bit strange, but it's designed to replicate the original air scoop that was seen on the original Renault 5 Turbo. On this electric version, obviously no need for any of that, and what Renault has done is made this into a battery indicator light. So the 5 logo here has 4 segments, each representing 25% of the battery. When the car's on charge, it'll all be flashing and let you know how full it is. This only comes on the Techno trim and above though. If you go for the entry-level Evolution trim, this is just a black blanked off section. Underneath this fairly weighty bonnet actually, which feels really heavy compared to every other body panel on the car. You can kind of see why Renault hasn't added a frunk in here, because the packaging is actually pretty compact, and they've squeezed a lot of components in the bonnet here. And the Renault 5 is front wheel drive, so they've got that to contend with as well. All pretty good, all laid out quite nicely. Everything seems to be labelled with lots of clips, everything else. We've got the washer fluid here, pretty standard, 12-volt battery, and all various fluids and things. There is more storage underneath the boot, as you'll see a bit later, for your Type 2 charging cable, so I can kind of excuse the lack of a frunk on the Renault 5. Now the footprint of the Renault 5 is quite small. It's not a very big car despite looking quite chunky, and I really do like that chunky vibe it has. So at the bottom we've got this plastic sill which adds to the overall look and feel of the car. Got some black plastic around the wheel arches as well, and then these tyres, they're not exactly small, so in comparison to the whole car, the wheels themselves look quite big when you look at the whole car inside profile. The alloys though are 18 inches. I love the design on those, they look really good, and then the tyres have a really chunky amount of profile to them as well. Now the Renault 5 has keyless entry as standard, so just a standard Renault Dacia key card you get. Very small, just keep it in your pocket, and as soon as you walk to the car it will unlock obviously, and you walk away it will lock as well. And that system works really well. I haven't had a problem with it at all. It's just this key card's quite large, bit of a strange form factor really, but it's fine. There's no fancy folding flush door handles or anything, just standard door handles here, and the door closing sound is fairly solid feeling. So it does have a slightly tinny sound potentially, but the Renault 5 isn't very expensive at all really, so pretty good. In terms of the colours here, this one is finished in pop green. And we've got a black roof on this one. You can have pop green on the entire car with a black accent line. Also, you get this red accent line on the yellow one. And if you go for different colours, there are a different combination of accent colours as well. Around the back here, we've got a sort of a hidden door handle, basically. So a lot of cars do this, a lot of 5-door cars do this. So it makes the car look a bit smaller than it actually is. And that's quite nice, really. Also, there's quite a bit in terms of design going on around the side. It might look quite simple at a first glance, but there seems to be quite a lot happening. So we've got this nice crease line, which comes from the front here all the way across to this line, and it sort of disappears into the bodywork, and it comes along here, up there around the sides. And there's another crease line here, and that doesn't really come that cheap. It's quite complicated to add these creases into the car. It adds extra steps in the production process. So even despite the Renault 5 being that quite an affordable car, they haven't really compromised in terms of little details that adds a lot to the design. Not only does the Renault 5 have a great design, the company has also priced it in a really attractive and pretty competitive way, actually. So the base spec trim with the smaller battery pack and a few of the interior features missing from this one is £21,495, and that makes it cheaper than a lot of other cars on the market, especially combustion ones. The Techno trim with the smaller battery is £23,495, so it's not much of a jump to go up to the one with the better seats and the better tech inside. And then the top spec Roland Garros trim is £28,495. That's like a designer version with the larger battery. There's other prices on screen now with the larger battery. The one I have in for review does have the bigger battery, and it is in the Techno trim. There are two batteries to choose from on the Renault 5, either 40 or 52 kilowatt hours. And the one I have here in this vehicle on test is the larger of the two. And that means this car can do about 252 miles on the WLTP cycle. Pretty decent, really. Now, in terms of charging, it's actually pretty decent as well. The charging port is on the front left of the vehicle, looking at a bird's eye view of the car. And that makes charging at Tesla chargers a little bit tricky, but it's not too much of a problem. You can get around it. And we've got this CCS2 connector here. So the top section is for AC. And once you remove this bung, both sections in combination is for your DC charging at motorway services and other places. DC is up to 100 kilowatts on this larger battery version. If you go for the 40 kilowatt hour version, then it will be a maximum of 80 kilowatts. 11 kilowatt is your max for AC on both versions of the battery. This car also supports a vehicle to load as standard, and there's a vehicle to load adapter in the boot. There's also a unlock button, which is really good to see, because sometimes it can lock itself on certain chargers. Every EV might have that issue, so it's pretty useful to see that there. And you've also got the timing button there as well, and there's a handy guide on what all the LEDs mean on this LED here. There are 3 different alloy wheels to choose from on the Renault 5, all of which are 18 inches in size. These are the ones you get on the Techno and the base Evolution trim. On the Iconic 5 you get another unique design, and also on the Roland Garros version you get another unique design. Before we go any further, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the Interface Cars YouTube channel. There's lots of content coming on a regular basis. New car reviews like this one, infotainment walkthroughs and EV charging guides. Thank you. For the front interior on the Renault 5, I do think the company's done an amazing job really in terms of uniqueness, a little bit of practicality because this car is quite small, but also the design too, which looks really good. And surprisingly, for an affordable car, the software is probably my favourite thing about this car. It works so well. The Google Maps integration is just incredible. And yeah, we'll dive into all these features in this section of the video. So first things first, as I mentioned earlier, there are 2 different battery choices for the Renault 5. You get the smaller 40 kilowatt hour version and this one which has a 52 kilowatt hour battery pack. The main differences in terms of the interior trims is that the larger battery pack, the base model for that version is this Techno trim, and then the base version for the smaller battery is the Evolution trim. The Evolution trim has a lot of the creature comforts removed, and there are certain changes to the interior which I'm going to quickly gloss over now. Any excess has been removed in order to get that car to be the price it is, which is around £21,000. I don't think Renault are going to sell many of those in the UK. usually with car models, the base trim is usually only there to make the headline that the car starts at a certain price. This Techno trim is most likely going to be the most popular version because it is a really good blend of price, features and the design, because you do get all those exterior design features which we looked at a bit earlier. So in that base model trim, the main differences are you get grey seats with blue and red stitching, you get a white section on this dashboard. This centre console is completely stripped back and you lose a few things, so you can walk through the entire cabin. The USB-C ports are moved, you lack the armrest, and you also get the handbrake moved down to the centre console bit. On this section here, the steering wheel lacks this silver piece here, which isn't a massive issue. You lack the driver modes and this multi-sense button. And for these screens, on every version apart from that base model, you get the Google integration with the Renault 5, which is one of the main selling points in my opinion. You get the route planning, which we'll look at in a second, but you also get the Google Maps integration with the vehicle. The driver's display lacks all these fancy different animations and different viewing modes, that's there, and you lack these white sections on the air vents, which isn't a massive problem. Up here, you also lack these nice touch-sensitive LED lights, and they're replaced with standard-looking LED lights. And in the back also, there are two LED lights, which we'll look at a bit later, and those don't come on the base trim. That's about it, really. On the exterior, I did mention all the different changes to the exterior design changes on that base trim, but that's what you kind of get on the interior. For this one, however, as I said, it is the Techno trim and it does add a few things. So as you can see, we've got this nice denim material on the dashboard, and Renault has said that is 100% recycled, which is really, really good to see. So many car interiors are either leather or just some man-made fabric. It's nice to see that the company has gone to the effort of using recycled materials. These seats are so comfy. They look very retro, which is kind of the whole thing about this vehicle, really. They're really comfortable, got some nice side bolstering, not too intrusive really, and some nice sort of ribbed pattern on the back. And the headrests themselves do look pretty retro at the same time, and they're quite thin, and you can see I've managed to put my camera on the headrest there. The main star of the show, really, in my opinion, is the software on this car. We've got Android Automotive built in, native Google Maps. So what that essentially means is that Google Maps knows what the battery level is on the car knows that Google Maps is planning its own journeys, and then it will tell you where to charge. One of the main things that has impressed me is that you can specify the charging networks you want to use. So if, for instance, when I've been using this car this week, I've told it I only want to use Tesla superchargers that are open to everyone. And this car knows where they are and how long you need to spend at each place, and it's really, really easy to use. If you want a full in-depth look at this infotainment screen, by the way, there's a link now in the top right corner or in the description down below where I take a full in-depth look at this infotainment screen, the driver's display, and also the My Renault app for iPhone. It just works so well, and I've just been super impressed. This touchscreen on this Techno trim is 10.1 inches in size, and we've got wireless Apple CarPlay, we've got DAB radio, and that Google Maps built in as well. The driver's display has a load of different animations, different view options here. Got different cards for different information. You can put Google Maps on this screen as well. So lots and lots of different features there. One thing I've been quite impressed with the Renault 5 is the distinct lack of on-screen controls. It's really quite refreshing to see a brand new car in 2025 with actual physical controls for all the important things. The main thing is the climate control. That's the worst offender in a lot of new cars at the moment. It's distracting the driver, looking away from the road to control the climate control on the screen. With the Renault 5 and also the Renault 4 and all the new Renault vans coming soon, we've got this climate control option down here. So if I turn on the air conditioning here, we've got the fan speed here, up and down, very simple. Temperature up and down, and the temperatures on the screen here. Got the recirculation, AC max, and then this button here lets you adjust where the air is going in the car, windscreen, face, or down the bottom. You can also turn off the air conditioning completely, and we've got a button here to turn on the hazard lights and lock all the doors if we want to. There's loads of physical buttons on the steering wheel as well. So while these buttons on this wheel look a bit glossy and they look like they might be haptic controlled, they're absolutely not. They're all physical buttons. So this side here is for all your cruise control features and your different modes like the adaptive cruise control, the distance between the car and front. On this side is all your media and the phone controls. So This button here controls the different viewing modes on the driver's display. You can swipe between different cards here, so like the range, what the efficiency has been like as well. Got the microphone for the voice assistant and the multi-sense button for the different driving modes. Now, one weird thing is the amount of stalks that's behind the wheel on this car. It's one of the most funny thing about this car's interior, really. So on this left-hand side, we've got all the light controls, the indicators and the high beams. We've got the driving gears here, so the drive mode selector. We've got the reverse gear, neutral, drive and B. So B is your regen, which we'll look at a bit later. And there's no park button on this car. You might think there should be one at the end here, but there isn't. So this little Renault badge is just a sort of a design piece, and as you've probably seen online, this section here has been designed to look like lipstick. I wouldn't really know about that really. And you can get some stickers on the front here to sort of personalize your car's interior. One of the ones I quite like, and you can get WT5, a bit of personality there. On the right hand side, we've got the traditional Renault, Alpine, Dacia volume control section with the skip tracks on the back, little wheel and some different modes, and all your wiper controls as well, and the rear wiper too. Now down here is the My Safety Perso button, and it's one of the most innovative things I've seen on a car probably in quite a while really. And we all know that cars at the moment have to have a bunch of safety features like lane keep assist, speed warning features and different things like that. And one of the ways that Renault has made those features a bit more easy to live with day to day is just a button here. You can double press that and it will turn everything off. You can go into the infotainment screen and customize what things you want to be turned off whenever you press this button. That will be reset every time you get back in the car and restart the car essentially, but just double press that and that will put it in the mode that you want it to be in. Got some controls for the windows down here. All the windows are electronically openable and they're all one touch to be opened, so that's really, really good there. Down here we've got a very decent sized glove box with all the manuals and different things, and a very small fuse box on the left hand side. And then in the center console down here we've got a wireless phone charging pad, 2 USB-C ports there, a small storage cubby, parking brake, the auto hold button, and this section down here has a little Easter egg. So this rubber section has a brand new Renault 5 sort of silhouette etched into it, and on the very back there's the old Renault 5 from the 80s. Got a cup holder section down here. Now, as you'll notice, this section doesn't have a divider inside, and it should do. This particular car I've borrowed from Renault is missing that cup holder divider, but you can add that in. It will come with the car, but there are some other accessories you can add to the interior, such as 3D printed accessories and a sort of a yellow or blue different coloured cubby hole there for storing certain things. This section down here is the armrest, which doesn't come on that base trim I mentioned earlier, but this is probably one of the most cheap feeling things in the interior. So yeah, that's very flimsy, but it does the job. It's, to be honest, the Renault 5 is relatively affordable really in terms of how new cars are priced. Everything else looks really good, the tech is quite good, so you can excuse sometimes having cheap feeling armrests like this one. There's actually a decent amount of space in there for holding certain things like your keys and different things, so that's pretty fine really. And then in the roof we have got this nice checkerboard material, which is nice and textured, and that adds a nice bit of personality to the interior really. And also one other important thing to mention is that because of the unique shape of the Techno and other trims, the base Evolution trim can't really use the wicker basket option for the baguette holder, which would attach to this side here. And there are some other accessories which don't work on that base trim as well, including some third-party ones. Obviously, one of the main things that Renault has done with the new Renault 5 is take a lot of inspiration from the old car from the past. And obviously, they've done a really, really good job in taking inspiration from that car and making it fit into a modern EV. The design is one of my favourite things about this car, really. Now, without looking at what it's trying to imitate or take inspiration from, as a modern car, this new Renault 5 has an amazing design. It's very, very simple, and it is obviously a pretty affordable car at the same time. Now what they've done, we've got a bit of red trim at the top here, a very small black spoiler, got a very heavily tinted rear windscreen here, which is really nice, and a small rear wiper. And actually up here, you can see we've got a very tiny jet for the rear washer fluid, which comes out very, very powerfully actually. Got the black strip along here, and one of the main things that Renault's done with the design is got all these sort of slats. It's everywhere on the whole car, as well as these sort of squares as well. Got the Renault badge here with the 5 logo, and we've got these very retro rear headlights or rear lights here with a lot of slatting and a lot of texture to them, which is really quite nice. Again, very smooth, very simple, and it's obviously helping to the aerodynamic efficiency of the car because the Renault 5 is very efficient. We've got a lot of just clear bodywork here, not much happening at all. Bit of plastic here with the parking sensors and a small diffuser. If you go for the basic Evolution trim, you do get a black section on this whole bit here, which makes it look a little bit more utilitarian. And also you lose this shark fin antenna and you get a standard whip antenna, which I haven't seen on a new car for a little while actually. Now, once you open the boot, which is manually done, you do get 326 litres of boot space, and you get this rather funny parcel shaft cover, which just flaps about there. For the size this car is, 326 litres is actually pretty decent really. Good amount of space here. The load lip is quite high, so if you have got a suitcase you might have to lift it in quite high to get it over the load lip, but once you're in it's absolutely fine. There's no sort of storage on either side here, all pretty good really. And what we have got underneath the floor is a toolkit with a vehicle to load adapter as standard, a 12 volt powered tyre pump, some goop for tyres, and a tow eye as well. And then just underneath the boot space here, we've got a pretty decent amount of space for hiding away the Type 2 charging cable so you don't lose a lot of boot space. All really, really good. We've got an LED light on this side, a bag hook on either side, and once you fold these seats down, you get 1,106 litres of boot space. So as you saw there, I did have to move the passenger seat a bit more far forward, but you can see here I've got a decent amount of space. The false floor here isn't height adjustable, but you can get in a lot of stuff there, which is perfectly fine. So in the back of the R5, there's not a massive amount of room for backseat passengers in here. Where the door opens here, it doesn't seem to go back either far enough or forward enough, so it is a little bit hard to get in and out of really, but once you're in, it's not too bad in here. It is a little bit cramped, so I'm not the tallest of people, obviously, but I've got this driver's seat set up in my driving position. I'm around 5'7" in height, and I'm sat behind myself essentially, and I'm fine back here. It is slightly cramped, but it's not uncomfortable. Now, I can imagine that taller people than me would have a bit of a hard time, especially if they're sat behind another taller person. But apart from that, it's not overly awful, just it's a bit cramped. I've got a little bit of legroom here behind the driver's seat. I've got a little bit of headroom as well, so it's not too bad in here really. And the seats themselves are fairly comfortable. They're the same material as the front seats. A bit of bolstering on the side. Weirdly, you've got a middle seat in here, which is really, really strange. So this car's not much wider than a Volkswagen Up, but they've decided to add this middle seat. So let's have a look and see what we get on with the middle seat. That is not too bad. So I've got the passenger seat quite far forward, and the driver's seat set up in about the same position really. So it's not too bad, and then if people are a bit skinny in here, you could get them in. But yeah, there's no middle load-through hatch or anything, or no armrest, no cup holders. There's also no USB-C ports in the back, so there's only 2 in the front for charging your devices. The door cards are actually quite low down, which is quite good, and the rear windows are quite tinted. And there's no door bin storage areas at all. But we have got electric windows in the back here, which are one touch to go down, which is quite a nice feature there. I think overall it's actually a little bit cramped. It wouldn't be suitable for long journeys, but if you've got small children, they have got ISOFIX connectors in the back seats here. So it sort of depends on what you need to carry in the car, your lifestyle as well. So I think it could work for a lot of people, but generally I think 2 people you would use this car at a maximum most of the time, but you could carry people in the back if you needed to. There's one final thing. There is this lovely Easter egg. So in the back of the driver's seat, there's this tag, and it's got 4 Renaults on it. One is the Renault 5 from 1972, the Renault 5 Turbo from 1980, and then another Renault 5 from 1984. And then they've placed in the 2024 Renault 5, which is the one I'm in now. Nice little Easter egg. Obviously, if it's on a European car, the tag would be on the left-hand side of the car. So that's a That's a really cool little Easter egg that I actually forgot about until I had a little look in here. So quite cool. So what's the Renault 5 like to drive? I just want to manage your expectations from the start. The Renault 5 is not a hot hatchback. It's got 150 brake horsepower in this larger battery option, and the standard range model with the smaller battery has 120 horsepower. So it's not really a sporty hatchback. The only reason it kind of feels fast is because it's electric, and electric cars have all of their power available all the time. If you do want something a bit faster, well, quite a bit faster actually, there is the Alpine A290. Alpine is a subsidiary of Renault, and the Alpine A290 is built on the same platform as the Renault 5, as is actually the Nissan Micra, which is coming pretty soon. So that is the brand's offering for a sporty car. But as the Renault 5 stands, it drives really, really well. Really, it is designed to be an everyday car that just so happens to look really, really cool. And I think they've nailed that brief, really. That doesn't mean to say it doesn't drive well. It really does drive really, really well. I think the company's done a great job in terms of handling. And again, this isn't an option on the base model, but this particular version does have different driving modes. We've got Eco, Normal, there's a Sport mode, and then there's a Perso mode, which you can then customize all the different features. So I'm going to test all those driving modes out in a second. But just as a day-to-day normal car, the Renault 5 just nails that brief. It works so well as just being a normal car. So as I said, I've got a few different driver modes to play around with. I've got a multi-sense button on the wheel. However, you can go on the screen and adjust those driver modes if you want to, but I'm going to use the wheel here. So in Eco, the steering is definitely nice and light. It is really direct though, because some other cars I've driven can have light steering, but they don't really offer any feel. Whereas I've been driving this car in Eco mode all of the time this week, and it's been giving me what I want. It's been a really nice car to drive, but you can obviously ask for a bit more. So we put the car into sport mode now. My position on the throttle is doing a lot more for me in terms of acceleration. The steering stiffens up and just becomes that slightly bit more engaging. It's quite nice, and the acceleration is actually quite good. When you're in Eco mode, in the view I've got this screen, there is 3 different bars basically. You've got regen on the left. Eco mode is a window basically of acceleration where it's telling you stick within this range and you'll be driving economically. And then you've got the power mode. So once you go past Eco, you're in the power band. Once you're in Eco mode, it's a bit more difficult to move outside of Eco mode. And then once you're in sport mode, it allows you to do whatever you want basically. So you can accelerate really, really quickly. And as I said, it does do 0 to 60 in 7.9 seconds. And it feels fairly nippy really. The ride gets slightly more choppy when you're in sport mode. The ride in the Renault 5 is actually really quite comfortable for such an affordable car. And it doesn't feel like you're going that fast. So I'm going to 60 miles an hour now. I was going to slow down again, but it doesn't feel like you're going 60 miles an hour. So it sort of does isolate a bit of the outside world with some of the sound insulation in the car. I put the car into comfort mode now. Comfort mode doesn't feel that different from Eco really. The steering's slightly more engaging, it's slightly more direct really, if anything. It's as far as I can notice anything really. If you put us back into Eco mode, obviously the car accelerates a bit slower, but the steering's pretty much the same really. Now in terms of efficiency, I am really, really impressed with how economical this car can be. Renault quote 4 miles per kilowatt hour, but I've been seeing 4.6 miles per kilowatt hour. Now admittedly, I have done a little bit of motorway stuff, but most of my driving this week has been A roads and B roads, and I have kept the car in Eco mode the whole time. But still, just getting 4.6 miles per kilowatt hour out of a little hatchback like this, really, really impressive actually. I will put how much range that will actually give us on the screen now, but that's pretty decent really. Now the regen isn't too bad. I haven't seen one in person yet, but apparently the new Nissan Micra, which is based on the same platform as the Renault 5, does have full one-pedal driving. The only thing we've got in this car is the B mode, which is actually perfectly fine. It takes you a little while to get used to where to pull off the accelerator to get the most out of the regen, but it does provide a good level of regen to recoup some energy. Pretty good really. Once you've got the car in D mode, it will just coast pretty fine and just switch it into B mode there, and you can see the regen just pulls on quite quickly. And D mode, again, it just lets you coast. Visibility also isn't too bad. These A-pillars aren't that big, so they aren't blocking too much of the surroundings for me. The mirrors are a very decent size, and the rear window, I can see a fair amount out of it. The only bad thing is, though, that the rear headrest does block some of the window slightly, but nothing really too massive to complain about. It is fairly decent, really. And once you're on the dual carriageway, or the motorway, we have got fully adaptive cruise control. The only thing it won't do is steer for you. So if you click on this mode button here, we can then switch between adaptive cruise control or just the speed limiter. And then what we can do here is with this button here, is select the speed you want to go. So I'm going to select 70 here. And then this little button in the middle with the car and some lines, what you can do is select the distance between you and the car in front. So you've got all the way up to 3 or 4 and down to 1. And I've got my feet off the pedals right now, and it is just taking care of business. As I said, there's no automatic steering function, but for a mainly city hatchback, I think that's perfectly fine. Once you're at 70 miles an hour, the wind noise in here does get slightly louder. So I can hear a fair amount of wind noise around the mirrors here, and definitely up here. It's not perfectly quiet, but it's not too bad, really. So what do I think about the Renault 5 after spending a whole week with the vehicle and doing nearly 750 miles? Well, my first impressions are that this car drives really well. The technology is really good, and it beats a lot of its rivals, but also beats a lot of cars that are more expensive than it as well, which is super surprising. Getting the technology piece in an EV is super important, because Renault has said that a lot of people who have bought the Renault 5 are not only new people to EVs, but they're new people to Renault as well, new customers of the brand. And that's quite impressive for the company, really. So getting that technology and the route planning to work really well is such an important thing, but it's a thing that a lot of other car companies seem to get wrong. And the Google Maps integration with the route planning, the charging, the battery preconditioning is something that Renault has obviously spent a lot of time and money on, and it works really well. So that bet on Google has definitely paid off. The design, which is one thing which I've mentioned in this video quite a lot of times, and other reviews have mentioned, is just outstanding. The design of this car has added a lot to the charm. It's got that nice blend of modernity to it and retro look. And the fact that the Renault 5 is electric has not only helped improve the appealingness of the car, but it's helped improve the cost of ownership and cost of running as well. It's not all perfect though. There are 1 or 2 things I would like to see improved. The back seat passenger space is not very good, really. Even for a small chap like me, it's a little bit compromised, a little bit cramped. So that's possibly one of the things that isn't so great about the Renault 5, but the boot space is actually really decent and it is super comfortable to drive. However, I'd love to know what you think about the Renault 5 in the comments down below. Will this be the car for you, or would you pick something else like the Mini Electric? Until next time, please subscribe to Interface Cars, and I'll see you again in the next video.